Hey guys, welcome back to Grave Reviews, where we are checking out horror movies and deciding if they are rotted or fresh. And today I'm talking about the Tubi original, Hellblazers. Hellblazers is directed by Justin Lee and stars a whole lot of veteran horror actors that you would recognize. So, Tubi is a goldmine for low-budget horror movies, and for good reason. So, you might not be aware of this. If you're from Bad Movie Night, you already know this, but I am a filmmaker. And the reason Tubi is filled with so much stuff is because they don't curate their catalog too much. They generally take most things, and they're one of the highest-paying platforms. The AVOD ads, video-on-demand service pays way more to filmmakers. So there's not much of a barrier to entry to get your stuff on here. And then compared to like Amazon and stuff like that, which does have a more barrier to entry, Amazon pays nothing to filmmakers. Essentially like a penny per hour viewed or something like that, if I recall. It's almost nothing. Now granted, their user base is huge, so you get a lot more eyes on it potentially, and it adds credibility and it adds ease of use because of all the platforms Amazon Prime is on. It makes sense to put your stuff on there. But Tubi is popular for filmmakers who are making low budget stuff because it pays. And it's easy to get your stuff on there. I don't know how long this is going to last, so enjoy it while it is available, all these awesome low budget stuff. But that all being said, Tubi is a cool platform that I'm a fan of. And they just started recently, I don't know, this past year, 2021, started putting out like original content. I hadn't watched any of their original movies until this one, Hellblazers, and it caught my eye because Tony Todd's on the cover. So Hellblazer is about this small town in which Billy Zane shows up and summons a demon, and they have to feed the residents of the town to this demon, and then some hijinks ensue. And the whole movie is essentially designed for horror fans to go, hey, that's Adrienne Barbeau. Hey, there's Tony Todd. Hey, there's Bruce Dern. Oh, Meg Foster's here. And other moments are just cliches and references to other horror movies. Because in general, this movie's made for horror fans who are going to be distracted by the cameos and the references than to focus on the actual storyline, which is almost non-existent. It's not to be said that there isn't good stuff about this movie, but overall, wasn't the biggest fan. Now, it's definitely low budget, and there's lots of hints of low budgetness. I assume the majority of the budget went into the, veteran horror actors. Their rates are lower than normal, but they at least got some decent veteran horror actors. So Tony Todd's, always good. Bruce Dern, he's old, but he's funny, and there's moments in this movie where it's like they feel like, I don't know, maybe he didn't have a script or something. He's just improvising, and he's a funny dude, and it kind of works, but it also feels like a little rough improvisation. What am I saying? Is this a word? Improvisation. That's a word. I don't know why I second guessed that. Anyways, so it feels a little off, I guess is what my point is. But there's tons of horror movies nowadays where you'll see, and I'm not trying to pick on these people, but you'll see Felissa Rose or Eric Roberts attached. And those two names to me are a giant red flag that this is going to be a pretty bad movie. Just because, I got nothing against Felissa Rose. She seems like a very nice person. I like Sleepaway Camp, but she's not the greatest actress. And Eric Roberts is a decent actor, but he shows up in like every low budget horror movie for like 2 scenes. He obviously isn't really interested in the movies. He's just showing up for a paycheck. And so there's a lot of low effort stuff with those 2 actors associated with him. So this has some decent actors. Like Tony Todd shows up. He's only in for a few scenes, but when he's there, he's good. Bruce Dern, same thing. Billy Zane shows up, like, he doesn't take it seriously at all, but he's so charismatic, it's hard not to enjoy it. Like, he kind of feels like he felt like in Chewbacca. Why did I say Chewbacca? That was so weird. What is that? Demon Knight. He kind of feels like his character from Demon Knight, where he's just silly. He looks a little rough, but I still like Billy Zane. I don't know what to tell you. There is a low budget sheen to this, though, in its production values. There's tons of visual effects instead of practical effects of like gunshots and stuff like that. It never really works. It doesn't look very good. Most of the kills are off screen. There is a monster, but it's hidden most of the time, which is generally the smart thing to do, right? Like hide your monster, build the anticipation for the reveal. But unfortunately, the reveal kind of sucks. Like when you do eventually see the monster, you see its face and it looks like, it's probably like an immortal mask or one of these decently high professional latex masks that you can purchase that are mass produced. So they're like $600 to $1,000. So they look great, but you've seen them in other things. And I'm pretty sure they didn't have like a full monster suit, because when you do see the monster, you kind of just see like its top torso and it looks like it's wearing a shirt and stuff. So it's like, why would a demon be wearing a muscle shirt? I don't fucking know. And so the ultimate reveal of the monster is not great, and the final showdown with the monster is really not great, very anticlimactic. But I like the setting here. It's a very small town, and they hammer that point in, and there's a lot of characters. You know, the ensemble cast of the horror vets, but you also have these other main actors who I didn't really recognize, and they might be known, I'm not sure. But they take some time to build some character to them, which is appreciated. You get a little backstory of some people, and the other ones you don't get much backstory of are still like archetypes and understandable. So that stuff kind of worked. And I think they sold the small town setting pretty well. You have a few locations, and so when the siege moments hit where this cult kind of descends upon the town with the monster, that stuff basically works. The cult is kind of lame. They're just like these robed wearing figures, which obviously that's like rule number one of a cult is like the first thing you do is go buy a robe and then, I don't know, learn Latin, I guess. Is that like rule number 2 of joining a cult? I don't know. I never joined a cult yet. Although I did join the YMCA for a little bit, but that was just for swim lessons. So I feel like I'm not quite in that cult, but anyways, I digress. So the majority of the movie, the kills are with these faceless cult members in fight sequences that aren't good, with, like I said, kills being mostly off screen. Most of the action doesn't ramp up for like a half an hour or something. You have like this cold open with a kill. It's not great, but that's where Billy Zane is, so I'll take it. And then overall, you got like 10 minutes maybe of credits from the intro and outro credits, where they splice in a bunch of scenes at the outro credits as well. So the runtime feels padded. You have these scenes where there's like a dancing montage, and at first when it starts, you're like, oh, okay, this feels throwbacky, but then it keeps going and it starts to feel more amateur and cheap. But it padded the time, and I feel like that's probably, there's a few sequences in here where they padded the runtime, which is unfortunate, because I think the premise here is fun. It's simple, but it works. And if they had more budget towards the monster effects and the kill sequences, I think I would have enjoyed it more and less veteran horror movie cameos. Now, I get it. From a business standpoint, it makes 100% sense. Horror people will recognize a name and they'll watch a movie based on the name. And so they're going to get more eyes on their movie because of this. But it detracts from the overall quality of the movie sometimes. Bruce Willis is very notable for doing that, in my opinion, for recently, of course, with his movies where they get him, but he barely tries and barely is in the movie. And so most of their budget probably goes to just getting him, when if they would have took that budget and applied it to like the effects, the story, and just the overall production quality and stuff, it probably would have improved the movie. But then nobody will see it. So yeah, there you go. Hellblazers. It's out now on Tubi. Everybody has Tubi. No reason not to check it out if any of this sounds interesting to you. I think I would pass. It's not completely rotted. It's just very average. And while it's a decent time, if you just put it on the background and are doing something else, I think it's passable. It doesn't quite hit the horror moments well with its gore and its kills and its scare sequences. And the comedy really doesn't hit either. So it's kind of just forgettable. Outside of the cameos. So I'd give this a 5 out of 10, and I probably would pass on it. It's very, very average and very, very forgettable. So that's gonna do it for this episode of Grave Reviews. I hope you enjoyed it. If you did, leave a comment below, leave a like, subscribe to the channel. That helps us all out. And let me know what I should be watching, and I will catch you here next time, guys. Goodbye.